episode of Success Secrets Exposed, where we have intimate conversations with today's thought leaders, change makers, and disruptors to bring you tools, strategies, and insightful perspectives on both personal and business growth, revealing the humanness of both success and challenge. My name's Sally A. Curtis from Monetize Your Content, and we're a done-for-you marketing agency that works with brilliant individuals to help them monetize their existing content. We're actually best known for turning books into 2 years' worth of dynamic social media posts, designed to help to save you time, maximize your assets, so you become the obvious expert, sought after, and sold out with a lasting legacy. But today's topic is one that's super exciting for me, something I'm passionate about, and it is called Conquering Chaos and Finding Fulfillment. I've certainly had a life full of lots of chaos and lots of fulfillment, so we're going to be diving into a very, very juicy and exciting topic today. Now, my very, very special guest is a lady by the name of Tina Evans, and she's a communication professional and certified leadership coach with an absolute passion for supporting teams and individuals to move from just performing to becoming high performing. She provides personalized leadership tools to help compress the time and reveal those issues that just keep us from experiencing that peace and reaching maximum productivity and then transforming into that truly prospering space. So it's going to be a great conversation. So please help me welcome to the stage, Tina Evans. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and talk to you, Sally.
Thank you. Likewise, I love talking all things leadership and growth, but I love it even more when we talk about the transformation from that chaos to fulfillment, because I know at different times in our lives, we all go through the roller coaster of that and come out the other side and sort of get to our woohoo moment. But to be able to do that at such a deep level like you do with working with individuals and sort of teams within businesses must be extraordinary.
It is. Yeah. Yes. There's a lot of aha moments that go on with this type of work.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about your backstory and what brought you into the coaching arena?
I feel like I was an accident into the coaching world, but I am so glad that happened. But I think it started when I was really young, and we just all have our natural ways of finding energy, and we don't really know what that means at that time, but like just things we're naturally good at. And mine was, I just enjoyed entertaining people. I enjoyed, making people laugh or telling a story, or probably being at that time the center of attention. Well, that led to also really having a love for human behavior and recognizing that what I say, what I do has a direct impact on the people around me. So, and vice versa, what other people do around me or to me or say to me affects me for positive and negative. So I have a degree in psychology, but it is just a bachelor's degree. I did not intend for this to be anything more than just a passion of mine, and I needed a degree. So then it led me into also finding a love for communication. And that led me to being in the communications and marketing space for about 15 years. And I still feel like that was a way that I was storytelling. I was sharing the mission of, I worked in nonprofits. So there was a mission, there was a story to tell, and that still had an effect on other people. And then I got into what I would define as a toxic work environment. And I was not fulfilled. I did not have peace. I was not living a life. I was not excited
Mm.
to get out of bed. And that's such a huge piece of our world is, are we excited to get out of bed? And I wasn't, and I realized I don't have to do this anymore. And so I just kind of threw it out and said, what do I love to do? Let's go back to what brings me energy. And it led me right back to, at that time it was speaking. It was going back to sharing a message, teaching in a way. And so that led me to finding some certification programs, and then um, finding this natural way of going, oh, but I love coaching as
Mm.
well, because there's a reason why we're behaving, and I just want to help people communicate better. And there's just an awareness that a lot of us just don't have, or education around who we really are that we just don't get.
Mm, mm. And I love, one of my favorite things is that self-discovery. And we were talking earlier about quizzes and or quizzes or diagnostics or profiling, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And I've always loved those for the self-discovery of them, regardless of what goes on from there. But that, and I didn't realise until I was actually reading some information before our interview that self-discovery of seeing that information. I remember back when I did one profiling tool way back when, and I was in the process of looking for new employment back in the days when I was employed. And it actually gave me the insight, oh my God, that is exactly what I do. But I didn't know I did that until I actually read the information, which was why when we spoke earlier, I was so excited to read within the information that you obviously work from a data-driven space and
Yeah.
sharing that data with people. And for me, in that experience, that was where my own aha moment came from. So tell us a little bit more about the data-driven side of what it is that you do.
Oh, well, I want to go back to just personality assessments. I have always enjoyed taking any assessment that I could get my hands on. I just always say that I geek out on personality assessments.
Yeah.
But, oftentimes we take them, we read them, and we go, oh, yeah, that's me. And we kind of move on with life. Like
Yeah.
nothing really changes. We don't really apply some of those insights that we have and make improvements. We just say, oh, that was fun, and we'll move on.
Mm.
Um, but so what I really love is the one that I have found to be my favorite. So I'm incredibly biased about this one, and it's called the Five Voices.
Yeah.
And it's all about communication, which again is a love of mine. Is it really helps us understand who we are on a deep level. It helps us understand the way we process information. Like I hear something, but someone else could hear the same thing, and we hear it differently.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that, but then we start talking about it and we're like, well, that's not what he said, or that's not what she said. And so that's when communication conflicts start
Mm.
happening. It's when we receive the information differently.
Yeah.
But the data behind it really helps us know that there's some science behind it,
Mm.
and I can see this is really, these are my traits, like these are my characteristics. This is what brings me energy. This is what drains my energy. These are the types of situations that I panic around. And so then once we have that data, we can put it on and we can say, okay, those are my superpowers. Like this is who I am. And then we can activate those powers and see in real life the changes that can happen when we start activating really who we are. And sometimes that takes time to really go, okay, I'm going to own it. That is really who I am. These are my strengths. This is what I'm so good at naturally, and this is what I struggle in. But we have to also focus on some of those things that we're not really good at, because that can affect our influence, That affects our relationships and, of course, our productivity as well.
Yeah, and I loved the when you were talking about that because for me, when I had that aha moment, and I sort of almost felt like I was putting on a cape, and when you were telling the story there, it was sort of like I've put on a cape. I'm going to put superpower on. I'm going to feel into it and see where it takes.
Yes.
But you they give you that opportunity, but it is that activation and that trying it on and seeing how
Mhm.
it really feels, and then with when you then sort of almost have that look in the mirror effect when you've got that cape on, again, you then see yourself differently. You've now got the superpower cape on, and that little level of confidence in
Mhm.
yourself increases, which then transmits out differently in energy, and then communication, etc. So it must be fascinating. So I'd love to hear more about some of the, I suppose, the aha moments that you experience through people with the common things that they have as challenges. But I would imagine there's sort of common
Mhm.
aha moments that people go through as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One one of my favorites is a a gentleman took the 5 voices assessment,
Yeah.
and he was of the personality, because they're out there who are like, I don't want to take an assessment. Don't tell me who I am. Don't put me in a box. Don't but this particular one does not put anybody in a box. In fact, it just empowers you to really know who you are. And once he took it and let it kind of sink in, he realized there are other people out there that think like me, because most of his life, people didn't understand him. People didn't understand his ideas because he's very high level, innovative thinking, like way out in the future.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are still kind of here present, like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So there was a lot of just misunderstanding of his big ideas.
Yeah.
And he realized there's other people out there that think like you. You're not alone in the world. So that is one of my favorites, is when he realized this is a gift, this is a superpower, and I'm not alone
Yeah.
in in this mindset that I have, and this way of thinking and processing information. Um, and I think that I have a lot of stories that way, and when people are just, when they really do go, that that is who I am. And it's so empowering to
Mm.
really lean in and now go, that is what I'm good at.
Yeah.
And that is what the world needs of me. And I might have not been giving the world what I have to give because I was not in a situation or a relationship or even a work environment where it was valued.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you find that when people have those insights and their aha moments around what it is that their superpowers and what they have to bring to the world, that in itself becomes the gift that they can then start giving. They then start to have their own personal, I'm going to use the word transformations, but the
Mhm.
transformations would be multi-layered and in all sorts of different ways where they just suddenly start to blossom, I would imagine.
Yes, yes, and, it takes time.
Mm.
Sometimes it really does lead someone down a different path for a career. We've talked about
Mm.
different assessments, but it sometimes goes, "Oh, I thought that this is what I'm doing, it pays well,
That's my
um,
label. Yep.
it's my label," yes, and then they realize, "That's why I'm so drained all the time. I'm tired. I It's because they're kind of living out of alignment with really who they are. They're pulling up some of the things they're not quite good at or just come naturally. So they're always stretching instead of really leaning into what brings them energy and their natural gifts.
Mm.
So they're finding that I'm out of this alignment that's healthy in order for me to feel fulfillment within my work
Mhm.
specifically.
Mm. Mm. And I was reading one of your articles on your website caught my attention purely because there was a car doing a burnout, and I went, "Oh, that looks interesting," because I've got a bit of a speed demon in me. But it was actually interesting because you talked in that article around the alignment, and I actually copied the quote. Let me just see if I can find it. And that was, "The purpose of making adjustments to our car is to reduce the tire wear, our wear, and to ensure that the vehicle is traveling in a straight line and is traveling straight and true." So can you share from that perspective how you see that transformation then occur with those people when they've got that straight and true, and they're no longer wearing themselves out because
Mhm.
they're not in that balance and alignment? And I know that's that balance and alignment that then leads to productivity. It's absolutely your
Sure.
specialty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think about driving or walking even in a kind of a curvy way or a jagged way, and I realize that's how life is. Like we set out on a path and all of a sudden, but if we just focus on like I'm trying to walk straight, it's less energy. We're kind of focused on our goal, like that's where I want to go, and there's not things that get in our way, or we're not veered off. So it staying focused on what we want to do, what we want to achieve, who we want to be. Once we figure out that, then we can go back and walk a little bit straighter line than just going all over the place and hoping that
Yeah.
we get there.
Isn't that an interesting word? Hoping, yeah, which is, yeah, part of the, I suppose, the chaos process. I was just thinking of a little exercise I remember Rory doing when he came home from school about this difference in I'm going to use the word focus, or that straight line approach. He came in and said, "Oh, mummy, we've been talking about distractions at school." So he said, "I'm just going to show you something," and got me to do it with him. We had the TV on, we had the radio on. He just stirred the dog up, so there was everywhere, as you can imagine, and he was spinning around the room. He was doing spinning. So of course then he got dizzy. So he said, "Feel all that, mummy, and now I'm going to turn it all off, and we're going to sit and we're going to close our eyes." And that the difference in that chaos to just sitting quietly with closed eyes with nothing sort of interfering was such a great example of that, going 100 miles an hour, hoping and everything's happening and all the distractions, and it's high energy expenditure, versus I'm just going to take a moment and go to quiet, which quiet to me is also focus. And the difference in that energy level is a good little analogy of what you're referring to.
I really like that.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to demonstrate that. And then knowing that those are probably two extremes, like the extreme of all the noise, all the chaos going on at once, and then just complete silence, even silence with our eyes. Those are the extremes. So yeah, it's kind of finding also that balance
Yeah.
in between. That's kind of where life is lived, is in between those two.
Yeah, and that's the art of the balance, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's buffering between those and working from there. And you talked a lot about that balance and that presence to find that productivity. So talk us through some of the work that you do around workshops and what you see in businesses, etc., and how that moves transfer through that as well.
Well, I spend a lot of time in a workshop setting
Mm,
talking about being present and productive at because we need both.
mm,
We need to be productive. We need to get things done, reach the goals, pay the bills, raise the kids. We have to be productive,
mm,
but not at the expense of our people, of being present with people. We can do both. We
mm,
have to be productive, but we have to be present. So there's a time for each one. And
mm,
it's no, so really when I think about balance or work-life balance, it's not time for me. It's not about scheduling all the things. It's where our mind goes. So
Mm,
if I'm present with my family
mm,
around the dinner table, but I've got my phone and I'm checking all the things, I'm not present.
mm.
Where my eyes go, so goes my mind.
Yeah, great analogy.
So we have to be present when it's time to be present, and we have to be productive
Yeah,
when it's time to be productive. And that's hard. We have to learn how to do that, because the way our world is right now, it's hard to put the digital devices away and focus on the person across. But that's causing a lot of relational drama and just conflicts, and a lot of people are not staying together, whether it's business wise, in the home wise, because they're not present. We've lost a lot of that opportunity. And so for me, that's the balance, is balancing where our mind is. Are we productive or are we present? Because we
yeah,
can't be both at the same time.
yeah. And so on that element, how do we bring more of that, of what that balance and that presence and that productivity into the different areas of our life? Because
Mm.
I've heard you talk about, I'm not going to get this quite right, people,
Yeah.
people, place, and personal health. Have I got that right? I've missed one.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
actually five. There's 5 P's.
I'll let you go with those.
Yeah, so there's something that I love to share with the people that I work with, and it's a tool. You know, we talk. You introduced me with saying with leadership tools, and this is one of my favorites. It's called the Peace Index, and it actually is just a way to measure our stress level, and it comes in five different buckets.
Mhm.
We have the people, place, provision, personal health, and where's the other one? Place. Did I already say place? Purpose.
Purpose.
So what we can do is we can break down the actual pinpoints of where our stress is coming from.
Mm,
Sometimes when we're so stressed or overwhelmed, we tend to just be generic and say, I'm so stressed.
mm,
Yeah. Where are you stressed?
mm,
Your place might be fine. Your provision, you might have enough. You might have what you need. Maybe it's your people that you're having relational conflict with. Maybe it's your purpose that you don't feel fulfilled.
mm,
You're not in the right line of work for your personal fulfillment and getting you excited to be out of bed in the morning.
mm,
So it is a tool that we use to figure out where you're lacking peace.
mm.
Where is your stress coming from? Because then now, I mean, this comes down to the data-driven information. Once we know it, there it is. I'm telling you, this is where it's coming from. No one else can tell me where my stress is coming from. It's very subjective, but it's what it's happening for me. Then now I can take the steps to alleviate some of those. What's in my control? What's not in my control?
Mm,
What do I need to do to increase my peace in that
mm,
area?
mm. And when it comes to that stress and peace index, do people, but prior to taking or going through that process, do people often think it's one thing and then realize, oh my God, it's actually something else?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but a lot of times they're surprised. It usually is an area that they think it is,
Yeah.
because they want it to be, like they're
That's
the
what I
ones
was
doing
asking.
they're the ones doing it.
Yeah, the
So they're
control
like,
freak
"Oh,
says it's
yes."
that one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and then when they really start thinking about another area, they're like, I really had no idea that I was really frustrated with my office space. That's a place. That's part of your place. Like maybe it's not pretty or decorated, or you don't have a cute picture on the wall, or it could be so simple.
Yeah.
But it's
Impact.
recognizing, I don't like my office, or my drive to work is really long, and I never intended to have a long commute. Now we're starting to recognize where our stress is coming from, instead of just being generic with our complaints.
Mm. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can be specific.
Yeah. And it's that a bit, but what's just really dropped for me, or what I've heard in that, it's you're actually being able to, it's the specificity, but it's actually what's identifying the impactors and the specificity, because as you can see from behind me, I love plants, and if I'm in an environment where there's no plants, it's just energetically it's not right for me, and I feel drained by not having plants around it, as a really simple example. But if you don't know that, you just don't feel at peace and don't know why.
That's a really good example, and I love that you kept it simple, because so often it is simple.
Yeah.
You just have to acknowledge it.
And don't we overcomplicate stuff so much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we do, and in that vein, when we aren't specific, and we talk about we are stressed, but we don't know what the impactors or the triggers are, it is all consuming. It is too big. We can't see the simplicity in it. But when you're able to identify the place, for example, because place and environment is very important to me, so I sort of resonated with that. Or the other one that you used was provisions, and that made sense to me. So even the words that you've used, I've been able to go, oh yeah, I can sort of put that in a bucket and put that in a bucket and put that in a bucket. And when you can see or identify, you start to gain clarity, don't you? And then you can actually do you can see it, and then you can actually implement it. But without being able to see it first, you can't implement and create change.
That's so true, because we need to, identify where we're lacking stress
Mm,
or peace, excuse me, where we're lacking peace and have high stress,
yeah.
because then we can recognize why. If we
Yes.
get to the why, then we can do something about it.
Mm. Yeah, that's brilliant. And from a transformations perspective, can you share some of the stories around some of the transformations that you've seen, as it relates to when
Mm.
people are able to see what those impactors are? That would be great if you can share some of those.
Yes, there's there's been a few occasions where someone realized that
Mm,
my purpose is low.
yeah.
Because what we do with the tool is we give it a rating between, generally we do 1 and 100. 100 is the highest peace level you can be,
Yep.
and 1 means there's no peace. So each area you rate it between 1 and 100. You add those numbers together, and then you get your overall peace index number.
Yep.
So I mean, then a number, and now you're like, okay, I'm sitting at a 64. Like that's not great. So what area do I need to focus on to raise that? And so what happens when they see this, they go, my purpose is really low. And that's when I've had some people go, what can I do?
Mm,
What is going on that I need to change? And that starts a bigger conversation. Then that takes the coaching in a different direction, because now we have something to work on for that person. I will share my personal story around my place. um, my place index was probably, I couldn't even rate it, because it was so incredibly low about a year and a half ago, when my family we lost our home and pretty much all of our possessions in a house fire.
mm,
So my place, I mean, I didn't have a place theoretically, but I also work from home. So I lost my home, I lost my work office, my environment, and it really affected my peace level. So there was chaos happening. That's a lot of chaos happening, but I knew where it was coming from, if that makes sense. I mean, that sounds pretty duh, of course your place was not in a great spot, but that was the one that I could manage, I could focus on. All my others were kind of okay.
Mm.
So I had something to focus on in the midst of great tragedy.
Mm.
I knew what was within my control.
Mm.
And then I think we'll see when my kids grow up older. We'll see if hopefully keeping my emotions controlled during that time was able to keep their emotions,
Yeah.
from spinning out of control, because it's been a very difficult journey with my family to get through this. But I had the tools and the mindset to help me, which then translates and helps other people.
Correct. And
Human behavior.
behavior, and I'm glad. Thank you very much for sharing that, because isn't that the epitome of a working environment as it relates to the emotion? Obviously, when you were talking about all the things that you were lost, losing the home, losing the office, losing the work environment, I'm just going, oh my God, that's chaos. It's out of control, because you just couldn't. So my anxiety levels, as you were describing, were going up. Well done to you. But isn't that the sort of the work environment that we sort of find ourselves in now? Is that we have to be better human beings and better understanding, because how much that energy transmits out to those that we
Mhm.
lead, which when in a home environment is our children, and in a work environment is the staff and team that we lead, etc. So it is so important to be able to have that balance.
I agree. It comes at a price either way. If we have healthy balance, then that affects other people in a healthy way. And if we don't, then that affects everyone around us. And that's what I strive to do in my work, is let people have those moments to realize it comes from me first.
Mm.
I have to be a healthy human being, mentally, physically, in order to be healthy for other people.
Which in the essence is leadership. Just where
Yes.
you do what you do.
Yes. Yes.
On that note, with a leadership being doing what you do and loving what you do, what are the things that I'm going to ask the question? What lights you up most about the things that you do? Where do you have your own, oh my God, aha moments through somebody else's experience? What lights you up?
Mm. I I think when I leave a coaching session and I know they had a light bulb moment, and not everything's going to be a light bulb moment. So that's why I cherish when something resonates with them, and they they have something to work on. They know, they can see what could happen if they just work on this one thing, or change this one thing, or have this one conversation, or um, so it's lighting them up that lights me up, which is probably cheesy, but
I totally get that, because from an aha moments perspective, I totally relate and resonate with that. When something lands for somebody, and you can see their light bulb go off, and then
yes,
you can see them working out, oh, I've just got this step and this step and this step. When they can see their own forward movement, there's a different expression on the face when yes, it's landed, but they can see
yes,
they've got the opportunity for that inspired action.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I I'm not telling them something that they don't really already know. They're like, "I've heard this before, but maybe," or I'm sharing it in just a different way.
Mm,
Like, the peace index type tool where we talk about that.
mm,
I mean, they kinda know maybe I am having conflict at work, or, my home is under construction, or we're redoing our kitchen, so it's kind of chaotic. But now they really have a language for it. They have a way to speak about it, whereas before it was, just, I kind of have heard something like that before, but it's when they hear what I'm telling them in a new way.
yeah. And as you said, it enables them to be able to speak about it, which means they've got greater understanding and clarity, which means it's
Yes.
simplified it. Yeah.
Simplified.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful
Yes.
work. So share a little bit more. And I know you've got lots of resources, and we've mentioned a number of your resources today
Mhm.
on your website. We do have your URL going across the screen. So talk us through some of the resources and tools that are available for people to find out and discover more for themselves, and the different ways in which they can work with you.
Okay. I do have a kind of a self-study guide for free on the website that is a lot of what we're talking about today is cultivation through chaos. It's a study guide on walking yourself through what is causing you chaos. And it's separate from the peace index that I have spoken about a lot right now. It's a way for you to think about what is causing you chaos. And then it gives you an opportunity to decide what you can do, what's within your control. So there's that guide. There's also links that will allow you to take some of these assessments that we talked about. There's a free version of the communication assessment, the 5 voices. There's a free version that you can link to, and just get an idea of what your assessment would look like, and if it resonates with you. And there's another one as well that's called the positive intelligence, that helps us understand like where we get sabotaged, where our mind goes negative for us and really does not serve us. And there's different ways we can get sabotaged in our thoughts and our actions, and it helps you pinpoint which ones specifically rise to the top for you. um, and that has been incredibly transformational for me, just learning that content and now sharing
Mm,
it's been amazing to know those that self-talk. The I talk to myself all the time. Is it positive or is it negative? Well, a lot of the times it goes negative, and I have to shift out of that negative talk
mm.
and move into an empowering positive self-talk. And that assessment helps you understand yourself even more.
That sounds fascinating, and I'm going to need to ask another question around that, because we hear a lot of people talk about self sabotage. We know that
Yes.
we do it to ourselves. We know about the switching the negative talk. But what I heard, and this is why I wanted to do a quick check in with this, was it sounds as though there's a, I'm going to call it a theme, but there's a saboteur or a sabotager within ourselves that rises to the top. So there may be a few of them, but there's one that's the leader within that. Did I hear that right? So it's identifying what that is for us.
Yes, there's actually 9 different
Oh, there you go.
saboteurs. No, but I didn't say that at the beginning to not scare anybody. There's 9 different ways, but we don't all get
Mm,
all 9. There's generally 2 or 3 that kind of can play together.
yeah, yeah, and I get that. And that was why I wanted to explore it, because again, it comes down to that if you, yes, hearing not there's nine's terrifying, but knowing that there's three that play your tune for you, and then
Mhm.
understanding who those three are, and
Yeah.
being able to put them back in their box. Uh, Another
Yes.
version of explaining
I'm
that,
gonna
going, okay, I know
quiet
who.
them, quiet
Yeah,
'em.
quiet then. I know who you three are. We're just going to sort you out right now. So again, that's that clarity and understanding of being able to how to move forward and resourcing yourself with the appropriate tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because once we know we have that self-awareness, then it leads to action. We can't just stop with
Yeah.
the awareness. Like, that was so good. Thank you for that information. That there's no transformation then. Transformation has to have the action behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. So I'm going to ask you now if, after all of the conversations that we have, what is your favorite one-liner? Do you have a favorite quote?
I have, yes, I, it's very important to understand what it's like to be on the other side of you.
Mm,
That's part of going through some of these self-awareness assessments and tools, and just looking in the mirror in a new way and realizing that's that's what it's like to be on the other side of me, and I had no idea.
mm. Yeah, brilliant. And how is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
I've tried to make everything very easy by making it all Tina Evans Coaching. So the website is tinaevanscoaching.com. My email is hello@tinaevanscoaching.com. And I love having interaction on social media. So LinkedIn, Instagram, and a Facebook group. It's all Tina Evans Coaching.
Yeah, beautiful. That's makes it nice and simple and very easy for everyone. So well done. Thank you. Thank you for sharing everything that you have shared with us today. And as we've sort of shared through the conversation as we've chatted today, there are a plethora of resources available for you to consume. Have your own self-discovery on Tina's website, and then there's opportunities, obviously, through that self-discovery and insight that you gain to be able to get some further clarity and support from Tina as well. I had a ball having a read of some of the articles this morning, and I'm super excited to be trying some of those assessments because I love a good assessment. Any closing or final words from yourself that you would like to share, Tina, that we haven't yet covered?
Mm. No, I think just recognizing that when it comes to the peace in our lives or the stress in our lives, that we're only giving away what we possess. And so if we have a lot of peace, we can give away peace.
Mm.
If we have a lot of stress and chaos, that's probably what we're giving. That's what we're giving off. So we cannot give away what we don't possess ourselves.
Beautiful final words. Thank you very, very much. I'll get you to repeat that again. And that was, we can't give away what we don't possess ourselves. Is that correct?
Yes.
Brilliant. Again, thank you very, very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And please do reach out to Tina, check out the great resources, do download the guide, and check in with Tina on social media, because seeing and revealing more of yourself is the gift that will continue to keep on giving. Thank you very much. Anything final popped up for
Thank
you there, Tina?
you. No, thank you so much. It was so lovely speaking with you.
You are very, very welcome. It's a pleasure. As I said, that chaos to fulfillment transformation piece is something that I find very, very exciting. I know the audience absolutely love it because it creates an aha moment that they can grab hold of something and then create an action and an activity, and they can then find further insights and then have that inspired action that, is what and where the transformation takes place for us. So thank you very, very much for sharing so much with us today. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And we will look forward to seeing you again on another episode of Success Secrets